the Mr. X statement. So it's going to be another Mr. Y or Mr. Z.
If you look at the occurrence book, which is Exhibit FF25, at page 160 of the bundle that you've given us, you will see an entry number 21 at 6:20. This is on the morning of the Monday the 13th, which refers to the body of an African male, approximately 30 years of age, found at Eastern Platz next to the railway. There are 5 firearm rounds on his back. They allege that he might have passed away. Well, is that the entry that is that the report you're referring to?
That's correct, Chairperson.
General evele apha ku occurrence book FFF25 apho kuthiwa khona phaya ngasesporeni kwashunyana umzimba womuntu apho owayehlatyiwe.
Chairperson, you'll recall the witness having referred to 2. The one was a casualty. I think this is an entry for the casualty. The statement to which I refer deals with the one who was injured and left for dead.
Esi statement endithetha ngaso umhlekazi ungalwana uthi ngumuntu owenzakaliswa apho bakholwa kokuba uswelekile bamshiya kanti uyaphila ilo wayiswa esibhedlela.
There's a reference also, sorry, if I got my thing on. There's a reference also at page 161 to entry number 44. This is at 2:50 in the 14:50 in the afternoon. Security report about a person died, body at Old Sewage next to Andrew Safi Hospital. So there's a dead person, and the injured person, one of the 5 shotgun wounds in his back, is presumably the injured person, is it?
No, Chairperson.
Is that right?
No, that's not correct, Chair, with respect. Right. This incident, I'd rather let the statement speak for itself, Chair.
All right. Anyway, you'll favour us with a copy of that tomorrow. So let's move on.
Yes, Chair.
Wethembiso kokuba uzasinika statement sakhe ngomso umhlekazi ungalwana iso esizawucacisa lento kakuhle.
Of 00, did I have it up? Page 3 of of Exhibit 004, which is 194 of the paginated record. The facilitator, line 14, says, I think the request is directed at, well, let's start with line 10. You are speaking. You say we need to be seen as the protectors and get the perpetrators to court. That is my request. Thank you.
Apha kwathetha ugeneral athi ke thina masibonakale singabakhuseli ukuthi aba bantu benza ezi zehlo zophula umthetho baveze phambi kwenkantolo.
You see that, General?
Sisicelo sami eso.
I see, Chairperson.
To which the facilitator, whom you say is Mr. Kwadi, well, it's a Lonmin representative, says, I think the request is directed at AMCU as well as NUM. I suppose that is in order that we get a response of what the General was saying from both trade unions. You see that?
Uphendula ke ngeli lo omele iLonmin uphendula esithi ndicinga okokuba lamazwi akho ajongiswe kwi-AMCU ne-NUM masivo kwabona bathini kulento njengezi unions ombini.
Is it factually correct that you are addressing yourself to AMCU and NUM only?
Ngoku wawuthetha ne-AMCU ne-NUM kuphela apha, General?
No, Chairperson, I was also talking to the mine.
Hayi mhlekazi, ndandithetha nayo imine ngokwayo.
Did you in any way correct that impression that Mr. Kwadi or the facilitator held?
Lento yayiphendula ukwadi apho kokuba bona bangeni kulonto into yenum ne-AMCU le waba nempendulo kuloko.
That's correct, Chairperson. I also did indicate that is one of the omission that I didn't see here. That the omission that I referred earlier, that there are some of the corrections that I've made which I don't see.
Njengoba bendichilo ke mhlekazi kokuba yandimangaza lento ezinye yezinto ethe ndazithetha yiyo leyo ndilungisa loo nto engaveli apha kolu xwebhu.
Now, where would you have said what you now say you said to Lonmin on that page?
Apha kulo xwebhu ke ibizavela phi le ntetho yakho apho ulungisa khona le nto ye-non-min?
Chairperson, I did indicate to Mr. Khwadi to say that it does also include the mine, because hence I called all of them.
Ngathi kuye uPhadi xa egqiba ukuthetha le ntetho.
In effect, you said that at line 5 and following on the same page. I'm not here on behalf of management. I'm not here on behalf of the union. So you made it clear that you were there not for one side or the other, but as a member of the police service concerned to bring about safety, security and stability at the mine. You did say that in many words, didn't you?
General, ndithi wathi apha andizelanga omnye nomnye ndizele nonke njengobana njengamapolisa sizama ukuletha ucango kule ndawo ubafaka bonke kunjalo.
Is correct, Chairperson.
Injalo le nto.
What did you expect of Lonmin to do?
Ngoku ke into awulindele ukuba iLonmin yenze yona kwakuyintoni?
Chairperson, I did expect that Lonmin on that day might indicate that when can they start resolving the problem, because the relevant structures that they were referring to, they were there in that meeting. And I did not want to take part to say that they should do it, but the indication which I have said that the operation has arrived at a sensitive stage, I wanted to make them to understand that for them to get involved and with the unions, it's a matter of agency.
Into ndandiyichaza apha Mhlekazi xa ndithi kubo masenze ngokushesha ngoba le meko isisecicini ngoku ndibazise bonke apho. Into ndandiyimele kwi-union okokuba bona naba abanye bazawubeka imini bayohlangana nale nto ngoba ndandibaxela ukuba le nto isisecicini lokuba ingaqabuka noma nini.
Did you ask, General, the Lonmin representatives at that meeting to go to the copy and address those people sitting there?
Wabacela ababemele iLonmin okokuba kunyanzelekile uba bakhuphuke baye phaya endundupheni kuyothethwa naba bantu. Wayiveza loo nto kubo?
That's correct, Chairperson.
Ewe ndayenza loo nto.
We see their response later.
Awubona ke apha ukuba bathini bona apho.
So perhaps let me ask you now, what was their response?
Mandikubuze khona ngoku bathini xa usitsho njalo, General?
Chairperson, I will refer the Honorable Chairperson and the members of the Commission to page 27 of the same exhibit. Page 27 to page 28.
That will be the
Mpembe,
paginated
219 of the file.
Kulawo makhasi athi mabajonge kuwo yavela apho impendulo.
That's correct, Chairperson.
What line, General?
It will be between line, that's the one that is line, I could say is line 17, Mr. Mokoena.
Where Mr. Mokoena says, our position, General, is, as Lonmin management, our position is as follows. We are willing to engage our employees within the structures that are known in a very safe environment where there are no weapons, not on the mountain. So we are willing to meet our employees through their structures, through their leaders to discuss any issue, not when they are armed, not when they are actually outside the Lonmin property.
Ayibeka ngolo hlobo utata uMkwena okokuba ewe thina njengeLonmin sizimisela okokuba nothethathethano nabasebenzi bethu kodwa ke sithetha nenkokheli zemibutho ebamele endaweni yakaLonmin hayi apho kungaphandle kweLonmin nalapho bephethe khona izixhobo.
Is that some of the part you're referring to?
Ile ntetho yayiphendula uthetha ngayo?
Yes, Chairperson, also including
Away.
the following paragraph. I take it that is also the answer to that.
nale landelayo kwaba ingxenye yale mpendulo yakhe.
Yes, he then continues to say, so when the workers are back, disarmed, tomorrow, tonight, through their leaders, we will meet them. That is our position. So we are not against meeting, discussing issues with their employees through their right structures. We are prepared to do that.
Wayigcizelela ke lento yokuba bona bazawuthetha kuphela nembutho emele abasebenzi ngaphansi kwemigaqo elandelwayo yabasebenzi, hayi ngoluhlobo bahlomile bengaphandle, bazimisela ukuthetha nabo kwindawo ekhuselekileyo.
Right. So that's the loan position. Can I take you back to page 4 of 004?
Yayimi
It's
apho ke
paginated
loan
page 195 of that bundle.
Masiyeke kwikhasi lesine lalomqulu uphethe apho.
Line 13. I think it's Mr. Zokwana. Well, let me ask you this. NUM president, well, I think it's common cause. NUM president is Mr. Zokwana, is that correct?
That's correct, Chairperson.
He says at line 13 of page 4, paginated page 195, our members being grabbed along, shop stewards are being grabbed to that mountain and being killed. Do you see that?
Wanthi umhlekazi amalungu ethu inum abanjwa ngenkani yaqoqediswa bathathwa bamikiswe phaya entabeni, i-shop stewards zethu zithathwa ngenkani ziyiswe phaya entabeni zibulawe.
You saw that?
Yes, I can see it, Chairperson.
Did you ask Mr. Zokwana to identify these members of NUM that he says were grabbed to the mountain, presumably against their will?
Wambuza umhlekazi uZokwana baxela amagama abantu bathethwe ngenkani bayisa phaya entabeni.
That's correct, Chairperson. I even said that my office is open for 24 hours, that if there is anyone who can give me the information to resolve the problem. I even said that for me to resolve this problem, because it's a big elephant, I had to eat it bit by bit.
Ndatsho ewe mhlekazi ndathi kubo elami office livule ihoras ngu-24 imini nemini, ndathi kubo ukuze ke sikwazi ukuthi sijonge lento ndenza umzekelo wokuba ifana nendlovu enkulu lena kufanele ukuba ityiwe kancinci kancinci.
You mentioned omissions in some parts of the transcript. On that page, I think let's do it in that fashion. On this page, General, thus far in the conversation, is there any glaring omission that you can see? In other words, is there anything that either you said or any of the parties at that meeting said that is not recorded on this page?
Uye wathi general kolu xwebhu libeke phambi kwekomishini kukho izinto ezininzi ezingavelanga apha ezathethwa apho, kweli khasi kukho into ongathi isilele engavelanga apha eyathethwa.
No, Chairperson, I don't.
Now,
Ndibone into apha.
on the same page, beginning line 21, right at the end, it's still Mr. Zokwana who says, I think that people who are better placed are those who put people in that mountain to go and tell them to come down. You see that?
Thi umhlekazi uZokwana ndicinga ukuba abantu ababhetele kokuba bangabiza abaya abantu abasentabeni ukuba mabehle ngabo bababeke phezu kwentaba phaya.
Yes, I can see, Chairperson.
Uyayibona loo nto
Can you
leyo.
give the Commission the context of what it is that he was talking about?
Ubethetha ngantoni uZokwana xa echaza le ntetho apha?
Chairperson, Mr. Senzeni Zokwana was referring to the AMCO.
Ubethetha apha umhlekazi Senzeni Zokwana ethetha ngeAMCO.
What about AMCO?
Ubethini ngeAMCO?
He was saying that it's AMCO that is better placed and who took the people to the mountain.
Ubethi iAMCO le engaba namandla yokuthi ibuyise ababantu ngoba yiyo le bamikise pha entabeni.
Yes, I think we see that on the next page, page 5 at the bottom, paginated page 196, where he says, I think AMCO is better placed to go to the mountain and tell them to come down. and I agree with you, and so he goes on.
Utsho apha ke kwikhasi elilandelayo uthi ucinga okokuba iAMCO iyona ezakuba inhlangano ebhetele okokuba ingaya pha entabeni xela aba bantu kuba behle ngoba yiyo le bathathe abamikisa pha entabeni.
On page 7, General, paginated page 198 of that same document, the first line, you are the one who's now addressing the meeting. You're saying, but it's my job as a police officer to find out who did these things.
Apho kuthetha wena ke Mhlekazi uthi wena kodwa ngumsebenzi wami ke njengepolisa okokuba ndimi maniphanda okokuba ubani owenze lento.
You continue to say, what I'm saying is this: now that I have identified, and I said when I started here, the same management told me that, quote, we do not know who we are dealing with because we have unions that we are talking to. We are not talking to anybody, close quotes, and they were refusing to talk to anyone. Are you able to put this in a proper perspective for the Commission?
Ngasicela ukuba apha bekuthetha ntoni ke xa usitsho kanjalo kokuba bathi bona njengomsebenzi bona bazawuthetha neunion abazo kokuba ubani bathetha ngaye emva kokuba ubaxelela ukuba xa ndifika apha niye nathi ngabantu abangaziwayo apha.
Chairperson, at this stage I was referring to the management.
Apha bendithetha ne-management.
All right. Is that all you prepare to say about that part, that passage?
Ugqibela apho kule paragraph General.
Chairperson, on the 13th, when I was intercepting the group, I was with Mr. Henry Blow.
Ngomhla ka-13 Mhlekazi xa ndiyawudibana naba bantu phaa ndandihamba noMhlekazi uHenry Blom.
And when I requested Mr. Henry Blow to say, let the management help me with the interpreter.
Ndacela uHenry Blow okokuba makathethe ne-management okokuba inthumele utoliki.
And Mr. Henry Blow informed me that someone who is a senior at the London said that we are not prepared to negotiate with those people, but we are prepared to negotiate with the lawful structures.
Wathi kumi xa endiphendula uHenry Blow wathi uthethe nomnye phaya ophethe kwi-management othe bona kabazimisela ukuba bangene kuthethathethwano nabaqhankqalazi bazimisela ukuba bathethe nabo bamele izinhlangano zabo.
Thank you. Then on page 8, General, in line 19, you say, I am here to ensure safety and security and I need your help. If I did not know to whom these members are belonging, I could have not come to you. I could not have gone to the management. I came because of the identification issue. You see that?
Yayibona lento uyithethayo phaya uthi wena mna ndifanele okokuba kube ndim umuntu ozisa ucwangciso apha njengamapolisa ndidinga uncedo lenu apha ukube bendingazi okokuba aba bantu bakuphi bendingeke ndize apha kuni ndize apha kuni ne-management ngoba sendinolwazi okokuba ngobani aba bantu mamolatho ukuba bangobani.
When you say I came because of the identification issue, firstly, to whom are you addressing yourself?
Apha ubuthetha nabani xa usithi ndize apha ngokuthi aba bantu bangobani?
Chairperson, I was talking to both NUM and AMCO.
Apha bendithetha nemibutho yabasebenzi NUM ne-AMCO.
To help you identify what?
Ukuba baze babonise ukuba ubani babonise ntoni?
Chairperson, I was requesting them to help me to identify the people who have taken the leadership.
Andifuna uba bandibonise abantu abathethe inyathelo ukuba zinkokeli phaa.
And when I'm talking about the leadership, I'm talking about those that spoke to me when I was intercepting the group.
Ezinkokeli ndithetha ngazo ke zezi ezazithetha phaya esiporweni xa sibanqanda.
And I was also referring to say, where are they staying?
Ndibuza ke nokuba bahlala phi aba bantu.
On that day, did they assist you with that information?
Kukho uncedo walifumana ngaloo mini ngalo kubo ngalento mhlekazi?
No, Chairperson. I did not
Andizange.
get any help on that day.
Fumananga ncedo tutu mhlekazi apho.
On page 12, General, paginated page 203, line 15, the NUM president, Mr. Zokwana, says, even if NUM were to consider any form of any meeting, we won't be with AMCU together. We won't. That is the stand we take as a union. We are going to consult on our own, but meeting with AMCU on matters is not possible.
Apha ke kuthetha uNUM president uthi thina njengeNUM asizimisele okokuba nangeyiphi indlela singangena kuthethathethano apho kukhona iNUM nathi. Thina njengeNUM simi kuloo ndawo okokuba sizawuthetha thina ngokwethu siye siyohlangana sithethe lento kodwa ke asinawuhlangana neAMCU kwizinto ezinjengezi.
He continues over the page and he says, what I am saying to you now is that the NUM maybe we will go to the mountain and engage anybody. What you have said I will need to ponder on. But as NUM we cannot go to any forum together with AMCU because we have done that. Go with them and negotiate in Impala, and when the deal is made they refuse to go and report with us because they are playing a game of winning the minds of the people, as if they are the ones who bring benefits. We can't go there.
Wayibeka kanjalo ke lo mhlekazi okokuba asinawuvuma okokuba siye phaya neNUM siyothetha ngoba sithe phambelini xa senza lento phaya eImpala basebethi bona ke bedlala into yokokuba abasebenzi bacinga okokuba ngabo abazisa impumelelo kwimivuzo le yafunyanwa badlala igame enjengaleyo.
What impression did this give you of Mr. Zokwana's attitude in relation to working with AMCU, General?
Wabona wacinga ntoni ke ngale ntetho kaMhlekazi uZokwane ethetha ngeAMCU ngolu hlobo?
The view to resolving the impasse.
Ukuthi ingahle isonjululwe le mbambano yayikhona apho.
Chairperson, the impression that I had is that we are not going to go to the mountain with AMCU, because if we go there with AMCU and the matter is resolved, that will be communicated as if it's the AMCU initiative and winning, and that will win the minds of the people.
Umhlekazi uZokwane wayechaza into endayifumana okokuba abazimisela ukuba baye phaya entabeni neAMCU ngoba xa bengaya phaya lento isombululeke kuyawuba ngathi isonjululwe yiAMCU lento le.
This looks like a suitable time for us to take the tea adjournment. Mr. Inglewana?
Time flies. Yes,
Would you
Chair.
agree? We'll take the tea adjournment of this.
Lixesha letiye ngoku sibetha lili ixesha bawethu. Commission commences. Okay.
The commission resumes. Major General, you're still under oath. Mr. Ngulwana,
Sepansi kwesifungo
you've still
uGeneral.
got questions for the witness.
Just a few. Thank you, Chair. General, may I take you to page 21 of 004, which is the same exhibit that we were discussing before the tea break, and take you specifically to line 16. There's a new sentence there beginning, if you didn't entertain. You see that?
Correct, Chairperson, I can see it.
If you didn't entertain those delegations of RDOs, I don't think we will be sitting here talking the loss of life. Now, that's Mr. Matunjwa.
Umathunjwa lo othetha apho ethi ukuba azange sijongane nalezinto imfuno ze-RDO ngabe asikho apha.
And we know this because he starts addressing the meeting at page 13 of that exhibit, at paginated page number 204. To whom was he addressing himself, General?
Ubethetha nabani umathunjwa xa ethetha ngolu hlobo?
Chairperson, he was addressing the loanman management delegation present in that meeting.
Wayethetha nalaba babemele i-loanmen apho kule ntlanganiso.
Now, he's referring to a delegation of RDOs that he says Lonmin entertained. Are you, well, let's put it this way, at that time in that meeting, in the morning or the afternoon of the 15th of August 2012, were you aware of any such entertainment or engagement?
Ngelo xesha wawusowunalo na ulwazi lokokuba i-loanmen ike yajongana yathe yaba nothethathethwano nabantu babemele i-RDOs?
Chairperson, it transpired in that meeting, during this meeting, and it was the first time that I heard that. And when Mr. Matunjo was saying that to the mine management, to say there was a time where the mine did approach the RDOs without the unions. It was the first time to hear it.
Uyiva ngelo xesha umathunjwa eyiveza lento okokuba kukho ixesha apho imayini iye yaba nothethathethwano nabantu ababemele i-RDOs.
But the loanman management did not deny the fact that they once spoke or talked to the RDOs without the unions.
Nabo ke babemele i-loanmen abayikhanyelanga loo nto okokuba abazange bona bathethe ne-RDOs zingamelanga ngumanyano wemibutho yabasebenzi.
Mr. Matunjwa says he doesn't think that the meeting would have been sitting there talking about loss of life had that delegation of RDOs not been directly engaged by loanmen. Do you share that sentiment, or did you share that sentiment?
Ucinga ntoni ke wena General njengoba umathunjwa esisho kokuba ukuba nithethanga naleza RDOs navumelana nazo ngabasikho namhla apha ngabe kungabanga khona oluphalalo legazi nokuswelakala kwabantu?
Chairperson, at that time I was shocked because all the time when the management, I was speaking to them, and I indicated also in the same exhibit, there is the response of Mr. Mokoena that they will entertain whatever the RDOs have, but with relevant structures. So to me, I was surprised to see that there was one stage where they did speak to the RDOs without the same structures that they're referring to.
Yandimangaza nyani ke lento yokuva lento ithethwa ngumathunjwa xa ndiva okokuba i-loanmen ike yavuma ukuba ithethe ne-RDOs zingekho iinkokheli zemanyano xa ngoba lonke lixesha bebathi kimi kakhulu yena uMkwena athi akanawuthetha nabo bangamelwanga zinkokheli zemibutho yabo yabasebenzi.
Did you agree with Mr. Matunja when he said had it not been for the direct engagement with RDOs, they wouldn't be discussing loss of life?
I object to that question. It's quite irrelevant what this witness thinks of that proposition, Chair.
Ubebuza ukuba uyavumelana nana loo ntetho. Umthekazi uBerger uthi hayi akombuzo ngabuza incingo zalo.
What is the relevance of this witness's opinion as to whether the fact that Lonman negotiated independently with the RDOs led to their being there and led to the loss of life? That's the point.
It's not a life and death question, Chair. I'm not going to persist in it. Not that I agree with the objection, but I won't persist with it.
You can move on to the next question. The objection is upheld.
May I take you to page 27 of that same exhibit, paginated page 218. Mr. Mukwena, do you know what position Mr. Mukwena holds at Lonmin?
Kundla sikamhlekazi uMkwena phaya eLonmini intoni uyasazi?
Yes, Chairperson.
Ewe ndiyazi.
Well, what is it?
Uyintoni phaya?
I was informed that he is a Vice President of Human Capital.
Ndeva kuthiwa uyi-vice
But
human capital.
But I'm not quite sure with the job description itself.
Andiyazi kakuhle hle isikhundla asiphetheyo phaya ukuba sichazwa njengesiphi.
It seems like a fairly senior position. Now, we've read that paragraph. I just want to ask you one question. I suppose for purposes of this question, I need to read it again. He says at line 17, our position is, as Lonmin management, our position is as follows. We are willing to engage our employees within the structures that are known in a very safe environment where there are no weapons. And he continues over the page. I won't read the whole excerpt. The question I wish to ask you, General, is did Lonmin at any stage meet with employees through their structures?
Does the witness know the answer to that question?
That's why I'm asking the question, Chair.
Perhaps my learned friend can tell us what period he refers to.
Very broad and vague.
Apho kwabakhona uthethathethwano phakathi kweLonmin nabasebenzi nemibutho yabo.
General, did Lonmin at any stage between the 15th of August 2012 and the 18th of August 2012 meet with the employees through their relevant structures?
General.
You should explain to the witness what you mean by the relevant structures. So they can answer the question in a focused manner.
Kwabakho intlanganisano uthethathethwano phakathi kweLonmin neenkokheli zemibutho.
When Mr. Mukwena, let's take a step back, General. Thank you, Chair. When Mr. Mukwena said they are willing to engage employees within the structures that are known, what did you understand him to mean by that?
Xa esithi Mr. Mukwena uzimisele ukuthetha naba ukuba nothethathethwano nabasebenzi kodwa ke uzothetha nemibutho eyaziwayo emele abasebenzi. Bechaza ukuthini ngaloo ntetho?
Chairperson, my understanding was that he was referring to the unions AMCO and NUM.
Ndacinga ukuba uthetha ngemibutho leyabasebenzi iAMCO neNUM.
Now, with a view to resolving the wage dispute, between the 15th, the afternoon of the 15th of August 2012, and the 18th of August 2012, did Lonmin meet with the unions?
No, there was no wage dispute in that period, so the premise of the question is with respect wrong.
Gazi ubhekele uthi kwakungekho
So you should reformulate the question by talking about
intetho yakho yemivuzo
remuneration
akungathethi
dispute.
into yemivuzo apho.
Thank you, Chair. Between the afternoon of the 15th of August 2012 and the 18th of August 2012, to your knowledge, did Lonmin meet with the trade unions with a view to discussing the remuneration of RDOs and other workers?
Olwakho lwazi ke general phakathi kwemini ye-15 nange-18 kwabakho intlanganiso yaba khona phakathi kwe-Lonmin nemibutho yabasebenzi apho kwakuthethwa khona
I
ngemivuzo.
don't understand how this question is going to help us. We know from other evidence that the situation is far more complicated than that. The first point was that there was the 2-year wage agreement, about which the local NUM people had taken up a certain attitude. We also know that there were, among the RDOs, was a fair number of people who weren't members of any union. We also know that NUM had the wage negotiation rights, and AMCU didn't. It's also been suggested, and NUM is still going to come back to us on this, but suggested that NUM's stance had been, we're not prepared to negotiate separately for the RDOs, we're only prepared to agree to wage increases across the board, across the whole workforce. In which case, if that was their attitude, they couldn't take up the cudgels for the RDOs separately. So there are all sorts of complicated issues which arose. So I'm not quite sure how the witness's answer to this question is going to help us.
Uthi umgcinisihlalo akaboni ba impendulo yengqina ugeneral iza kwa uncedo apha ngoba ziningi izinto eziye zavela apha okokuba kwakho i-RDO ezazingemalunga enum noma kulo ntlanganiso kukho isivumelwano sasikhona seminyaka emibili esasisibopho kwelo xesha nokuthi inum yathi ayizimiselanga okokuba iyothetha izinto zemivuzo ithethela i-RDO zodwa xa kuthethwe zemivuzo ifuna ukumbandakanywa kwabo bonke abasebenzi abakho.
Chairperson, the only aspect I wish to test with the witness, and he can say he knows or he doesn't know, is Lonmin says we only prepared to negotiate through structures that are known. All I'm checking...
Actually, if you go on to page... Anyway, is it not common cause that there were no such discussions during the period? I don't think it's suggested. Lonmin don't put their hand up and say, we don't know what the problem is. We did have these discussions with NUM and AMCU at the time. That's a non-issue. So what's the point of asking the witness about it? I don't see how that helps.
Uthi elingqina linakwazi ukuyiphendula leyo nto ngoba inum iyayivezwa kokuba yabakho intetho phakathi kwabo nemibutho le yabasebenzi.
Chairperson, with respect, had we allowed the witness to answer the question yes or no, we would have been farther than where we are now.
Because if his answer is irrelevant, then we wouldn't be any further where we are now. We just wasted some time. If you can explain the relevance of this witness's knowledge about something which is virtually common cause before us, namely that there weren't such discussions, then I'll allow you to ask the question. But once I start allowing people to ask questions that are irrelevant, because it'll save time to do so, then of course we'll be going down a slippery slope, which is something that I don't want to do.
Kuncede kokuba sibuze into esiyaziyo kokuba izange ibe khona xa limpendulo yalo muntu ibezawuthi ewe iye abakhona loo nto ibinganceda ngoku siyazwa kokuba izange ibe khona into enjengale.
Thank you. I thank the Chair for indicating that it is common cause that no such meeting has ever happened. So I'll move on that basis. General, very quickly, because I would like us to finish with the 15th today, can I take you to the debriefing transcript, which is the next exhibit?
It's tab number 8.
Tab number 8. I think it's triple G4 or something. It's triple G4.
That is correct.
Do you have triple G4 before you? Thank you, Chair.
Correct, Chairperson.
Who was represented at that meeting? Was Lonmin represented?
Chairperson, I need to state that the unions did go to the mountain, and also the Lonmin management, Mr. Khwadi, and myself, we did go to the copy in that afternoon of that day.
Yeah, to cut it short, it appears from page 224 that Mr. Kwadi was there. He was a representative of Lonmin. Mr. Sakwana was there. He was the president of NUM. Mr. Mutunjua was there, but they met separately. They weren't prepared to meet together. So NUM, there was first a discussion with the NUM representatives, and thereafter a separate discussion with the AMCU representatives. Is that correct? That's what appears from the document.
Yeah, it's correct.
I don't have to waste further time on that.
Injalo
But
lento
now-
kokuba iLonmin yayikhona imelo ukwadi kukhona uzokwana kukhona nomathunja noma baya ngamaxesha ohlukile ukuyothetha nabaqhankqalazi phaya.
But at this stage of evidence, General, I take it you're dealing with the intervening period between the afternoon meeting and the evening meeting, correct?
Correct, Chairperson.
You say you did go to the copy with, just take us through very briefly.
Njengoba sisho kokwayiwa phaya endundumeni
AMCO and AMCO delegation and NUM delegation were escorted to go to the copy in a separate vehicle by the police.
bathatha ngenqola ezohlukileke ngamapolisa abe AMCO nalabo abehamba nabo nabeNUM nalabo abehamba nabo.
And also that when they came back, they did also give feedback, and that's a debriefing that we are referring to.
Bathe kubuyeni kwabo ke kwasekwenziwa lengxelo le ivezwe apha kolukhwephu.
And so I take it this triple G4 is a report back of what has happened at the copy when they were addressing the people on the copy. Is that correct?
Kunjalo kokuba lo olukhwephu sifunalo phambi kwethu apha ke ingxelo eyavela ngabo xa bevela pha entabeni bakwenzeke ntoni.
Correct, Chairperson.
Kunjalo mhlekazi.
Can I take you to what's written as page 1 in the middle top of the page of that exhibit? It's paginated page 224. Now, I don't know if there's any significance of this. In line 1, 2, 3, 4, there's something that says this continues to about, it has got 3457. Do you know what that signifies? The 34:57.
Chairperson, I don't have the same. Maybe if I can get the page.
Look at the bottom, I don't know, the pagination is 224, written in black khaki. It's page 1 of triple G4, the debriefing.
Yes, correct, Chairperson.
If you look 4 lines down, it's written in block letters and underlined. You see that part?
Are you referring to the
Top
passage?
of the page.
This continues to about 3457. Well, that obviously must be a reference to a reading on the tape.
General, it's at the
Because it
top
can't
of
be
the
a time.
page, the underlined part.
Okay.
This continues to about 3457.
It's not a significant issue. I just wanted to know whether you know what it signifies or not, General.
No, Chairperson, I don't know what does it signify.
It says in his statement he wasn't aware of the fact that proceedings were being recorded. Again, he asked for it to be minuted. That was refused. So he obviously doesn't know anything about the tape either.
Correct, Chairperson.
Now on page 2, on page 2, paginated page 225, towards the end of the page, there's line about 26, I think, 21, 22, beginning 25 or 24, you are addressing the meeting. You say, we are sitting with a situation that we want to avert the bloodshed. And I even indicated we still have to strategize how do we avert that bloodshed. Now, by bloodshed, General,
apha ubuthetha ngokuthi ke
What was, sorry, I haven't
enzame
finished the question.
ama ukuvimba uphalalo lwegazi apha ubuchaza ntoni ngalonto.
What did you mean by bloodshed? What were you referring to?
Chairperson, I was referring to the situation that started actually from Sunday, Monday, until also at that time. That's a bloodshed that I was referring to.
Ndandithetha ngoluphalalo lwegazi olusuke kusuka ngecawe lokuzenzeka zonke leyo mini kude kube ngalowo mini.
Page 3, paginated page 226. Line about 4 or 5 or 6, you say, but the issue of whether they hand in firearms or they hand in because we can just want to assure you the intelligence is they are hiding out in their blankets. It is going to be bloodshed. We still have to resolve that. We still have to resolve that, and we are no more prepared. We have already lost 2 police officers. We are no more prepared, and we are not going to lose another police officer. You continue lower down, about 14, line 14. You say, I know that you also come up and say, but why police are not intervening? But they cannot intervene in the situation that we see that is going to go to cause more harm than good. Now what I want to ask you is this. You refer to a situation in which the police cannot intervene. Can you elaborate, explain to the Commission what situation was going to present difficulties to the police in intervening?
Apha uthetha ngemeko awufuna amapolisa awakwazi kuba nongenelelo apha kulento ngoba inobungozi. Uthetha ngabantu abaphethe abafihle impu nezixhobo phansi kwezingubo ezebazimbetheyo. Wathi awufuna ukuba kobe ukuphalalo legazi ngapho sekuze kwenzakala namapolisa amabili. Intoni lokuthetha ngayo apha?
I was referring to the fact that we will have to get the alternative method to resolve the problem.
Apha ndandicacisa okokuba kufuze kuzame enye indlela yokuzisa ucwangco phaya, enye indlela engasombulula ngayo linto yayikhona phaya.
Are you able to elaborate, General?
Khawusicazele ke enjani, General?
At this time, it was the fact that we wanted the unions, as they are the leaders, to have persuaded their members to lay down the weapons voluntarily.
Kulapha sasenza khona inzame zokuthi imibutho le yabasebenzi ke njengenkokheli zabasebenzi kubo zizo ezithatha unyathelo lokuthi bathethe naba bantu babo babeke ezixhobo babeziphethe ngokwabo.
There are numerous other instances in that exhibit in which you refer to bloodshed, and from that an inference is drawn that you were opposed to disarming people on the copy.
Apha ke uthetha khona ngophalalo lwegazi uyithetha kaninzi lento lena kubonakala okokuba wena ngafuni wawuxhasene nento kuba aba bantu bahlasele bathathele ezixhobo zabo ngenkani.
And I ask you, what was the situation on the 15th that made it difficult for the police to intervene, as you point out here, which was no longer there on the 16th when the police did intervene? I'll rephrase the question, perhaps, if it's not clear. General,
I just wanted to object, but the question is being rephrased. The witness says thus far not. Yeah, but
General,
okay.
The question is being rephrased. Wait for the rephrased question. If you still have an objection, then you can raise it.
General, on page 3, about middle of the page, you're saying I know that you also come up and say, but why police are not intervening? But they cannot intervene in the situation that we see that is going to cause more harm than good. You see that? You remember saying that?
Ndiyazi okokuba nithi yintoni amapolisa angenza ungenelelo kule nto. Ndithi ke mna awakwazi uba amapolisa angenelele kule nto ezawuba ingxaki.
Evidently, you point to a situation because as a result of which you cannot intervene as the police. Am I misreading you?
Uthi apha andazi noma ndifunda kakuhle na kwakukho imeko eyayibangela okokuba ningakwazi ukuba nongenelelo ngelo xesha. Kunjalo?
Chairperson, at that time I agree, but on the 15th, still on this meeting, the situation has changed. Did change.
Apho. Kodwa ke nge-15 imeko yase iphenduka yase iguqukile ishintshile.
What was the situation on the 15th, General?
Awusixelela ukuba imeko yayinjani ke nge-15
that you couldn't intervene.
Yayenza okokuba ningakwazi ukungenelela kule nto.
Chairperson, if I indicate is that Mr. Matunjwa did indicate that the people on the following day will lay down the weapons voluntarily.
Into eyenza lokho kokuba uMathunjwa weza wathi ngemini elandelayo aba bantu baza kuzibeka phansi izixhobo zabo.
Let me put it clearer, General. What did you mean by we cannot intervene in the situation?
Apha uthi khona asikwazi ukungenelela phansi kwale meko lena. Wawuchaza ntoni apha?
On the 15th, I was saying that we could not go there to the mountain on the 15th to disperse the people. That is what I was referring to.
Into ndandiyichaza apha kokuba asinakuya nge-15 phaya entabeni siyosasaza sihlukanise aba bantu.
And the reason for that view?
Isizathu saloko kwakuyintoni?
The reason for that view is the one that I've indicated, that the intelligence said that there are some of the other people which they do have firearms and also dangerous weapons.
Andithi sasifumene ingxelo evela kwaba bezontlolo kokuba kukho abantu abaphaya abaphethe izixhobo ezifana nemipu abazifihle apha kulezi zinto abazinxibileyo.
On the 16th, the police did intervene.
Nge-16 kwenzeka amapolisa alenza ungenelela.
That's common cause.
Ayikhanyelwanga ke le nto ethu.
Correct, Chairperson.
Kunjalo mthetho.
What had changed on the 16th?
Kwase kutshintshe ntoni ke nge-16?
Chairperson, on the 16th, I did also mention in my supplementary statement, firstly, there was a time where we were having a belief that people are going to lay down their weapons.
Njengoba ndichazile kwi-statement esam kukho ixesha apho sasinenkolelo yokuba abaqhankqalazi baza kuzibekela bona phansi ngokwabo izixhobo.
And we do come to a part later on where you play devil's advocate, which I think relates to this. Perhaps let me take you there, General. I'll come back and do this chronologically. On page 13 of that exhibit, paginated 236, have you found it, General?
correct, Chairperson.
You see on about line 22, you say, right, I'm just going to play devil's advocate. And in that whole paragraph, which ends on the next page, effectively what you're asking is, on page 14, line about 6 and 7, if they do not hand over tomorrow, what next? As I read it, that's the devil's advocate you are playing, because there has been indications that Mr. Matunjwa, if you like, is confident of what is going to happen tomorrow. Now,
kwapho wabuza khona lo mbuzo kokuba ngoku xa bengazibeki phansi izixhobo zabo kuzokwenzeka ntoni.
Now, you say, because of what Mr. Matunjwa had said at the meeting, the situation had changed on the 16th than what had been the position on the 15th. I'd just like you to explain to the Commission, just briefly, what the difference was between the position on the 15th and the position of the 16th.
Ngoku uthi into ke eyenza utshintsho olu ukuthi uMathunjwa nge15 wayethe bangahle bazibeke phansi izixhobo zabo ababantu ngemini elandelayo kwathi ke ngemini elandelayo bangazibeki phansi izixhobo zabo ngoku utshintsho lwale kuphi apho.
Chairperson, on the same page, Mr. Mathunjwa's answer said, yes, I think it is quite normal to answer the question because all our desire is a positive adherence to our call. That everyone, when you say denounce violence, leave whatever that will be injuring people. So I do not have a specific answer. What next will happen, because I believe that tomorrow will be a day of joy for everyone.
Kwaba intetho katata uMathunjwa leyo xa ebuza lo mbuzo wathi ngoba ndiyakholelwa okokuba wonke umuntu nyani akafuni kubekho udushe apha ndiza kubekho abantu abazokonzakala. Impendulo endiza kuyinika ke okokuba xa ingenzeki leyo nto ngomso kuyokwenzeka ntoni, kodwa ndinenkolelo yokokuba ngomso kuza kuba yimini yovuyo kuwo wonke umuntu.
Chairperson, he went on to say, so I have not point in that direction of negativity of saying
I think he's looking for a translation,
yes.
Mr. Matlaw.
So I have no point in that direction of negativity of saying no. People will say no to violence or whatever. And again, when they say weapon, what do we mean? Yes, pangas and what exactly? And then
apho ke thetha khona uMathunjwa kokuba andazi kokuba ke sizawuthini xa kuvela into njengaleyo xa kuthethwa ngezixhobo kuthothwa ngantoni kuthethwa ngento ezifana nepanga nantoni.
Okay, General, there's been some debate about whether Mr. Mathunjwa made an undertaking or not. Let's just go through these. Can I take you to...
You're still busy with the question of what he said on the Wednesday night compared with the following day, or have you left that point?
I think I will leave it for now, Chair. I may come back to it.
You're coming back today,
yes.
right?
Uza kuyeka lo mbuzo kokuba umahluko phakathi kwale mini ezimbini 15 ne16 kwaba yintoni uthi uzawuphinda abuye kuwo umhlekazi ungalwana emva kwexesha.
May I take you to page 11, General, paginated 234. It's Mr. Mathunjwa now speaking.
Sizawuza apha ku page 11 apho kuthetha khona umhlekazi uMathunjwa.
Around line 6, I'm taking it from it's not the beginning of the sentence. He says, they said they want us tomorrow at 9 o'clock when there is sun. And then in order to engage on how to return back to work based on what we table to them. So our impression is they are willing to go back to work and we must come at 9 o'clock. Do you see that?
Ibona lento ebekwa nguMathunjwa phaya ukuba bathe size ngomso ngo9 xa kukho ilanga. Bathi ke sizothetha ngalento yokubuyela empangelweni kuyawuya ke ngokuthi intoni sibeka etafuleni kubo. sabese sithi ke kubo basinika injongo basinika ingqondo yokuba bazimisele ukuba bazibeke phansi size kubo ngo9.
Yes, Chairperson, I can see it.
I take it he's now giving a report back of what happened at the mountain as he was addressing those people at the copy.
Andithi apha ubenza ingxelo kini emva kokuba sabuye entabeni xela uba uvunyelene ngantoni nawo laba abantu.
That's correct, Chairperson.
He continues, he says, overall impression, they did welcome us, and they are prepared that by tomorrow surely there will be a way forward. By all these things will be over. That is our impression and our interpretation. Not even interpretation. That is what they said. See that?
Uyayibona apho ethi khona uMathunjwa basamukele kakuhle ababantu phaya nento ke seyifumene okokuba hayi bazimisele okokuba bazawu benza njengoba sitsho into esiye sayifumana okokuba bazimisele ukuyenza leyo.
What did you understand him to mean by that?
Xa ethetha ngolhlobo ke uMathunjwa wena wacinga uba yintoni le ayithethayo?
My understanding was that the strikers are willing to voluntarily hand over their weapons and disperse.
Into endayiva mina ukuba uthi abaqhankqalazi bazimisele okokuba zibekwe phansi izixhobo bohlukane.
Then on the next page, page 12, we come to the second indicator of what Mathunjwa was about. Line 10.
Yeah, kwikhasi elilandelayo apho kuthetha khona uMathunjwa futhi.
In line 10 he says, so that is our belief that this thing will be over by tomorrow. But they made it clear that they do not want NUM there. They do not want NUM, they do not want NUM and inaudible and so on. You see that?
Apho ethetha khona okokuba bachilo laba bantu ukuba bazimisele kodwa ke abafuni ukuyibona inum abafuni ukubona inum phaya. Uyayibona lonto?
Correct, Chairperson, I can see it.
You then ask him a question and you say, are you saying tomorrow they will hand in their weapons, they will disperse? To which he responds, yes, and then goes on to...
Yes, I mean if you're, and then the rest of it inaudible.
Uyasho uMathunjwa apha xa ebuzwa okokuba uGeneral Mpembe embuza ukuba ndiyeva president uthetha ukuba ngoku bazimisela ukuba ngomso bazawubeka izixhobo zabo phansi wathi uMathunjwa ewe nditsho ukuba wabesethetha enye into engabhalwanga apha engavakali ukuba wayethi.
What did you understand him to mean by that?
Wava athi esithini ke apha uMathunjwa Mhlekazi?
Chairperson, my question was very clear in terms of, is he saying that tomorrow they will hand in their weapons and they will disperse? And my understanding was yes.
Ndambuza umbuzo ocacileyo apho ndabuza uba utsho kokuba ngomso baza kuzibeka phansi izixhobo zabo bahlukane bona ngokwabo wathi ewe.
The third pointer. Oh. Is there anything you wish to add, General?
Kukho into obufuna ukwengeza ngayo kule ntetho General phambi kokuba sigqithe?
Yes, Chairperson, it was that I was continuously checking on him to say that are these people really going to hand over their weapons voluntarily tomorrow? And even if after I've asked him the devil's advocate to say, look, I want to be a devil's advocate. And I continued. And he gave me really the answer on the always on the positive. He even pointed out that there is no point where we have to think about negativity.
Yes, we are getting there, General.
Masingabi nengcingo ezinye ngaphandle kwalento esiyithethayo ngoba imibuzo yami yayiqonde nje apho kokuba uthi aba bantu bethembisa ukuba bazazibeka phansi izixhobo ngomso alokathi ewe makungabi enye into esici kube khona enye into ecingwayo.
The third pointer, General, page 13, round about 7th line. There's a policeman who speaks there. Do you recall who that was?
Uko apha kuthetha khona obhala police, policeman. Uyakhumbula uba kwangubani?
Chairperson, I remember it was Major General Annandale.
Ndiyakhumbula apha kwaku Major Annandale, Major General Annandale.
He says, middle of that, about page 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, about line 7, after inaudible. He says, then also we absolutely welcome the fact that you saying that you are denouncing the violence and that will mean that those people will hand in their firearms so that we can then sit with yourselves and leadership. We can then have a practical plan in terms of that, so that people will be in a position to then, in that demarcated area, and put down the pangas and the spears and whatever. I just thought I will, then it becomes audible. To which Mr. Matunja then responds and says, I mean from tomorrow, when we engage them, maybe the way forward may be, we will be saying wherever, just leave whatever, and then police come and collect it. Maybe sometimes if I come and bring it to you, there will be that sort of, and then it trails off. What did you understand Mr. Matunja to be saying there in response to the question put by the policeman, Major General Anandale?
Athetha kuMajor Anandale ethi sikuva kakuhle na okokuba iqhubeka xa iqhubeka lento kuzokwenzeka okokuba amapolisa abekhona apho ababantu bazawubeka izixhobo zabo ngokwabo phaya bohlukane usinika leso sithembiso. Kwathi uMathunja ndithetha loo nto okokuba kuzawuthi ngomso xa sithetha nabo mhlawumbe kubekho indlela eza kuqhutsheka ngayo, kodwa into endiyithethayo ukuba amapolisa azawuthi emva kokuba bazibeke phansi ahambe wona azichole ezo zixhobo.
Chairperson, again, my understanding was that we were already even talking about a plan of when the voluntariness of handing in of the firearm, if takes place, what is that we are going to do?
Apha ke kwasekuthetha ngeplan ezokwenziwa emva kokuba sekubekwe izixhobo. Icebo ukuthi zizawulahlwa phansi izixhobo ngabaqhankqalazi aba kuthi emva koko ke bese kwenzeka ntoni amapolisa bengena esezichola ezixhobo.
Chair and Commissioners, I'm eager to finish the 15th today. I should be another 8 to 10 minutes, if you'll indulge me.
Ndifuna ukuba
Tomorrow I
ndigqibe
would like to start on something new.
lento kwimizuzu njengabalithoba.
Till 4:15.
Thank you, Chair.
Uthi ndiza kunika kude kube 4:15 Mhlekazi.
We've dealt with the issue. You then play devil's advocate. You ask him if they don't hand over. That's the fourth indicator of what Mr. Matunja was saying about the handing down of weapons the following day. You then say, if they don't hand over tomorrow, then what next? Then he says, yes, I think it is quite normal to answer. I'm looking now at page 14, General, paginated page 237. From line about 12, Mr. Matunja answers your devil's advocate question. He says, yes, I think it is quite normal to answer that question because all our desire is a positive adherence to our call. That everyone, when you say denounce violence, leave whatever that will be injuring people. So I do not have a specific answer what next will happen because I believe that tomorrow will be a day of joy for everyone. So I have not point in that direction of negativity, of saying no, people will say no to violence or whatever, and so on. What I wish to ask you is, as a fourth pointer, what did you understand Mr. Matunja here to be saying in clear terms?
Ayithetha kona ngolhlobo uMhlekazi uMathunja kokuba impendulo endinayo mna okokuba ndinenkolelo kokuba ngomso ababantu bazaluyeka udushe obu bazawuyishiya noma intone bayiphethe phaya enokwenzakalisa umuntu. Impendulo le ondibuza yona ndithi mina tomorrow ngomso kuzoba imini yovuyo kuwo wonke umuntu. Buza kokuba wawuqonda ukuba uthini uMathunja apha.
Chairperson, he made me to believe that tomorrow there will be the voluntariness of handing over of weapons and the people dispersed.
Ndaba nenkolelo yokuba uthetha okokuba ngemini elandelayo zizawubekwa phansi izixhobo ngabaqhankqalazi basuke apho ngoxolo.
Before we proceed, I did say we carry on to 4:15, but I'm reminded of the fact we've only got one interpreter at the moment. Mr. Mhlanga, can you carry on to 4:15?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
You can. The other day, I remember when we were in Rustenburg, it became very difficult for you to carry on. So if you have a problem, please let me know.
No, I will, sir. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Pakistan have never beaten South Africa in a World Cup or Champions Trophy tournament. ANC dismisses media reports
In fact, may I very quickly, General, take you to Mr. Matunja's statement. We're going to come back to Mr. Matunja's statement later.
Sizawuphinda sibuye apha kwintetho kaMathunjwa
And
emva
refer you
kwexesha.
to paragraph 54
As
of that
both
statement.
lost their opening.
It's what exhibit is this? NN, exhibit NN, in the statements bundle.
So Golwani, you're not putting any more of the transcript then to the witness?
Yes, no, I am. It's just that this part of the statement seems relevant here.
Matches.
Statement enthetha ngaso siyahambelana nenthetho apha kwi-statement sikaMathunjwa.
Mr. Matunja, paragraph 54.
I got it, Chairperson.
Found it?
Isifumene mhlekazi.
We're still dealing with indicators about what Mr. Matunja's state of mind was and what he conveyed to the people at the meeting in that meeting of the 15th in the evening.
Apho kuchazwa le ntetho eza nayo uMathunjwa phaya kule nhlanganiso emva kokuba sabuye phaya nge-15.
He says in paragraph 54, we reported to Lonmin management and to the SABC jointly regarding our discussion with the workers. Present on behalf of SABC, then he says who was there. Then he says, we said that the workers had been receptive to the proposal that they return to work and that we would see them again in the morning to discuss the matter further. You see that?
Uthi uMathunjwa baye bayamkela le ntetho esiyisephaya abasebenzi bathi ke lento yokuba makubuyelwe empangelweni kodwa ke bathi masibuye ngomso.
Did that,
And Pakistan
on his own
go
evidence,
into the match.
would that give you an impression that the
Both
following
lost
day
their
you'll still be
opening
dealing with
matches.
people who are armed sitting at the
Pakistan
cockpit?
have never.
Wayesho kokuba uyawuthi ngemini elandelayo aye kwaba bantu baloku babesexhomile bapha entabeni.
No, Chairperson.
Then on page 17 of 009, no, it's triple G4, paginated 240. Mr. Mathunjwa again. Have you found it, General?
Sorry, what page of the exhibit?
Page 17.
686 in the police numbering.
Yes, Chairperson, I found it.
About line 7, Mr. Mathunjwa says, we will advise them the easiest way. Wherever you are, just leave anything there and move away. And then from there, I think things will work better. But do not think that if those weapons, let me read it as it's written. Do not think that if those weapons are not brought back, you will escape the wrath of the justice. They will be pursuing the individual until such time. This is a challenge that everyone should use for the betterment of everyone. You see that?
Wayibeka ngolo hlobo uMathunjwa kokuba kuyawuba bhetele umuntu asibeke isixhobo apho ekhona ahambe ngoba xa ungahambi ungasibeki apho baza kukulandela aba bomthetho bakulandele apho ukhona ingapheli lento.
From that, General, what did you understand, Mr. Mathunjwa, in clear terms to mean?
Intetho eyayicacile yayivela kuMathunjwa apho wayechaza ukuthini General.
It is clear, Chairperson, that he will also inform them or tell them that even though they have left their weapon voluntarily there, the police will still also through the investigations and follow them, and those that have committed crimes, they will be arrested.
Wayechaza apho kokuba noma bezibekile izixhobo apha kusukuphela kwalento amapolisa aza kulandela aphande abo abenze izehlakalo izenzo zolophulo mthetho zibalandele.
To emphasize the point, he then continues a couple of lines down, about line 17 or something. He says, I mean what I am saying today. You see that?
Lento ndithetha namhlanje ndinyanisile ngayo.
I mean what I'm saying today. It will not change tomorrow. That is Joseph Mathunjwa.
watsho
I do not
wathi
play politics. I am not a politician. I'm an ex-worker. I'm just a union representative. I respect the lives of people. I believe, then he believes in Jesus and so on.
apho ke sesho khona uMathunjwa kokuba yena ngumuntu kaThixo akalona ipolitician ungumuntu bekade sebenza injongo yakhe ukusebenzela abasebenzi ngumuntu okholwayo akafuni izinto zodushe.
Now, invoking the name of he who was crucified in Calvary 2,000 years ago to buttress what it is that he was saying about people laying down arms the following day, what did you understand Mr. Mathunjwa to be saying there?
Uthi xa uMathunjwa esethetha ngegama la lomfeli wethu owaxhonywa kwimawa mawa amabini eminyaka wayesenza ntoni sithembiso sini esiwayesenza uMathunjwa?
Chairperson, my understanding was that he was actually even swearing in the name of Jesus that tomorrow the people will hand in their weapons.
Efunga ngaye uYesu kokuba imini elandela izixhobo ziyawubekwa phansi.
He referred to the crucifixion. And he goes on to talk about he's not supporting violence. And he says, I believe that the one that was crucified in Calvary 2,000 years ago, that blood was enough. So clearly he's saying, I'm opposed to bloodshed. Blood was shed for the remission of sins and the salvation of mankind and so forth at Calvary, at the crucifixion. And that blood was enough. We don't need any more blood shed. That's what he's saying in this passage. Isn't he? He's not just invoking the name of Jesus to buttress the other statements that he made.
Engathethi nje ngegama lika Yesu uMathunjwa apha wayechaza kokuba uYesu ekuxhonyeni kwakhe kulama waka amabili eminyaka elogazi lanele akasafuni yena kubekho olunye uphalalo legazi ngaphandle kolo.
General, in the context of everything Mr. Mathunjwa has said.
No, I asked him.
Makaphendule ecala Mhlekazi Ngalane.
Chairperson, what I was saying is that he was making me to believe that the bloodshed will be averted. And Jesus Christ was crucified, that was enough. But in my understanding,
the interpreter allowed may I make a request, Chair? Can the interpreter allow the witness to complete his answer and then do a translation? Because it's quite disturbing to be cutting in between.
I'm sorry, that is the position.
Standards that they've set themselves. But perhaps this is a time for us to stop. I'm afraid you haven't finished the 15th now, but you'll have to resume tomorrow at 9:30.
9:30 ngomso sawungena futhi.
Adjourn till tomorrow morning at 9:30.
9:30 ngomso.
ANC dismisses media reports claiming that